Jesse, we're recording. We're with Jesse Schrader from Amboss, and we're going to be talking about lightning. So good to have you here, mate. Nice to meet you. First time we've ever chatted.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be on, and thanks so much for taking the time.
Yeah, of course. Okay, Lauren, fire Jesse a question.
What is the Lightning Network?
The Lightning Network is a decentralized payment system that operates without credit and debt. It connects people from all over the world to make payments happen almost instantaneously. And it does so without a central coordinator. So no one knows all of the information about all of the payments. And that's extremely important when you think about the privacy that you want in transactions. It operates without borders, so it connects people from all over the world and really reduces the cost of moving money and moving value around the world.
How did you understand it before?
I understood that you just used it to pay your Bitcoin for with your wallet on your phone.
Hmm. Yeah, that's good. There's
Yeah,
because there is a lot still to learn, even though the Lightning Network has been around. Well, when did the white paper drop?
I think that
Um,
was 2015
Right.
around there.
And when would you say it really started like actively picking up and becoming usable?
Yeah, it kicked off, I think, late 2017, early 2018. And that's like I started messing around with it in like mid 2018, and going into 2019. That's when
Mhm.
I was
That's the
just getting
timeline
into
I
it.
remember, but I was never brave enough to like dig into it and try it out or whatever else. There certainly weren't any quick wallets you could download from memory.
Yeah, one of the big pieces that kind of like motivated the switch into the Lightning Network was just the cost of a Bitcoin transaction. And right now it's close to like $10 to make a Bitcoin transaction.
Hmm.
And if you're only buying a cup of coffee, it just doesn't make sense to use an actual Bitcoin transaction to do that. When you want to make a really small payment, and that's it's going to be more and more important because we're buying really like low value goods like all the time, whether it be like an AI generated image or like some tokens for a game. um, it's going to be really small value transactions, but they're going to be happening all the time.
Yeah. Right, Lauren. Thank you for your question.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. Anyways, yes, thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Lauren.
Right. So I think what we'll do, mate, we'll try and keep it very low level, very easy to understand, because as we were discussing beforehand, there's going to be a lot of new people coming in to Bitcoin, and in fact, even those that have been around for a little while might still be kind of lagging behind on a bit of knowledge about the Lightning Network, myself included. There is still so much of it that needs to reveal itself to me. I need to get much better at running it on the node and opening and closing channels, rebalancing. So before we get there, let's not jump ahead. Let's get people comfortable with the fact that what is I think a common misconception as well from especially newbies is that Lightning is different to Bitcoin. Like Lightning is a new thing, which if you look at it from a network standpoint, like you explained, Bitcoin is a payments network. Lightning is a payments network that uses the Bitcoin, the native token of the Bitcoin network. It's all a little bit fuzzy, right? A little bit confusing for new people coming in. So one thing to be very clear to people that Lightning, when you say I'm going to pay with Lightning, you are paying with Bitcoin. You're not paying with Lightning. Lightning isn't a token.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. And this doesn't even come up when every time you swipe your credit or debit card, um, you're not thinking that I'm actually paying with a different currency.
Mm.
It's still dollars or euros or what have you. The currency remains the same, and so So like Bitcoin itself can actually manage the key qualities of money, namely like the supply of it. And then Lightning is really the scaling solution for Bitcoin. And it's just layering on top a very simple contract, and a contract between two people. So, or two entities, two nodes. Um, and, and that essentially creates basically a joint account. The currency doesn't change, but overall, you still are using the exact same like money protocol. It just works much faster.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Okay. So, how do we get people comfortable with then the idea of one, spending their Bitcoin and and interacting with the Lightning Network? What would be when you're talking newbies through it? What are the kind of tools that you like to? I mean, I know there's a best practice rule, and I know there's right. Let's just get the guy on a wallet down the pub rule. There are different scenarios.
Yeah. I think there's like, of course, you could always push people to go better. But I'm of the opinion you just want to get them started. For us that are like using Bitcoin as settlement rails, it's important that we actually start moving commerce onto Lightning system. And so that may mean that your first exposure to Lightning, to Bitcoin, would actually be through a custodial wallet. Now, like that's not the end, but that is the first step. But of course, there's a risk there because we know that custodians have betrayed users in the past, and you are making a certain set of trade-offs. But you really cannot beat the experience of using a custodial wallet. Like Wallet of Satoshi is probably the like
In the news
poster
right
child
now.
for a great user experience. However,
Mhm.
it comes with some consequences, as we're seeing for all of the users of Wallet of Satoshi in the United States.
So yeah, get everybody up to for those people that aren't in the US, get everybody up to speed with what happened to Wallet of Satoshi in the USA. Why are they not allowed now to be on the app stores and serve the users over there?
Yeah, from the best of my knowledge, it was a post from Wallet of Satoshi, essentially saying that users in the US will not be able to download the Wallet of Satoshi app, and Wallet of Satoshi itself will stop serving US customers. Now, I think some of the important context here to look out for is actually watching Binance and what happened there, because CZ of Binance was accused of money laundering, by having ineffective means to cut out U.S. customers. He was essentially serving them, but not having a good like anti money laundering process in place. So, my intuition says Wallet of Satoshi saw that enforcement action and was thinking, oh my gosh, I don't even want to deal with the US right now if they're going to be throwing around these types of fines and this level of enforcement action and not making an easy path to actually allow US customers to access the full power of this money system and this money technology.
Yeah, right. Okay. And again, I hope nobody lost their funds on there and was able just to get it off quickly.
Yeah, and I think Wallet of Satoshi has done a good job at actually allowing users to continue to withdraw their funds, but they should be looking at other alternatives. And it's a crazy time right now because there's not a really clear path about what is the best next step. They've gotten onto the first step, but now where do they go? Are they going to run their own node, which is like really where they should be going? Or are they going to take another intermediate step to actually have a really nice mobile experience and maybe choose Phoenix Wallet, which has a non-custodial element, but does involve Phoenix or like async behind the scenes actually managing the channel infrastructure, or even going to Breeze, for example.
Channel infrastructure. This is where people, and this is what you do, right, at Amboss. This is, yeah.
So what Amboss does is provide data analytics for the Lightning Network, and really it's mapping out the structure of this payment system, and so it's managing all of or viewing the relationships between all these different node operators that actually are constructing the payment network itself. So for this, I like to make transportation analogies where every node is a city and the channels between them are, toll roads. And so a payment can, just like a car, drive along these different toll roads to different cities, and hop between them to reach their destination. And Amboss is able to deliver insights about how to get from point A to point B effectively. And it also, at this point in time, really informs the node operators and the toll road operators on what types of tolls should they charge. Are they unique in this by providing this connection between cities, or are they in competition with some of the other roads that could provide that same route?
Okay, that's a good analogy. And so if somebody's now thinking, the way to think about it is you send a payment, that payment is that payment's job to hit up Google Maps and find like the quickest, most efficient way there, right? Including toll roads and whatever else. And bam, you're going to get that payment through. Now, many of us have probably experienced that dreaded timeout error or insufficient funds, or couldn't find a payment channel. The kind of three main things that might happen when you're trying to make a Lightning payment and the thing just fails in your hand and you look like the biggest idiot when you're trying to onboard somebody.
I'm really thankful for the Bitcoin community for being so understanding about how new this technology is, and how prone it is to failure. And so like when we're in line for like the Lightning beer tap, for example, at a conference, you can just watch Bitcoiners flip through all of the different Lightning apps that they have and just be comfortable just using these different apps to actually make the payment happen. Whereas for most other users, if you've got a failing payment, well, they're probably just going to churn out. They're just going to give up. And so this tells us, like, right now, like we've got a hobbyist core that is actually making a lot of these payments. But looking forward, what Amboss is focused on is really the payment reliability. Like, how can we drive payment reliability in order to make it really competitive with every other payment system out there that makes the kind of cheap decision to actually introduce credit and debt into the system, which creates systemic risk. But I mean, really, the push for Lightning is to move away from credit and debt, and make just instant settlement that is final.
Another practical thing that a lot of people will want to ask is, okay, I've downloaded the Bitcoin Lightning wallet, and we could use Blink, Phoenix, Breeze, even Moon, right? You can make that and write down your words, so you're a little bit more stable and you're self-custodying in air quotes. But then the next question comes, and you might send them some Bitcoin, and then the next question comes, and when they see that moment in front of their eyes, they're like, right, okay, how do I buy some Bitcoin? How do I load this wallet up?
Yeah, that is a great point, because I think this is happening mainly because of regulation that has pushed the wallet operators. They're pursuing this kind of like custodial based regulation. Versus if you're going to operate an exchange, you're going to be going from money to money, which, like, from my understanding, puts you as a money transmitter. And that's an expensive license to pursue. Now, a couple of wallet operators, like Strike, for example, has pursued this route. And so they're able to, like, deliver a really nice customer experience, but they also have to play ball with regulators, and introduce, KYC and AML. But really it comes down to, and we might see this more and more, is that if the developer is choosing the custodial route, you have to embrace that and I'm going to be responsible, and I'm going to choose the fact that I will get regulated in this respect, and you can offer some amazing experiences. So kind of like in the Lightning Wallet space, like I'm watching ZBD provide an incredible user experience, but they're also implementing some guardrails to say, like, okay, we will have to operate with a money transmitting license, and have to play ball with regulators. And that means that certain states of the US are going to get cut out. Like, I mean, cutting out New York, for example, because it's got the BIT license, versus like the other path that a Bitcoin builder can choose is to go non-custodial. And there you've got a whole other host of trade-offs you're going to make. Now you've got to scale this whole system of individual user nodes out there. You're going to have to figure out like how all those are going to communicate, and also figure out liquidity, which is deep and confusing for users, but it is essential to actually make a decentralized payment network operate.
Yeah. So let's say someone's got some Bitcoin, actual Bitcoin on the blockchain, and they've got their Lightning wallet. Then how would they fund their Bitcoin from the blockchain onto their Lightning wallet?
Yeah. So if you operate a node, it's a simple function of, taking your Bitcoin and creating a Lightning channel, which is quite simple to do. But
simple, he says. All right. Okay.
if you have the infrastructure.
Okay, so let's start there.
Yeah.
Pleb has Node, right? Which you should do.
Okay.
All of those listening, if you've been listening to this show for any amount of time, or you've been in the rabbit hole for at least over 6 to 9 months, make sure you've got your hardware wallet, and then definitely your next project is the Node. And there's a lot of off the shelf or build it yourself, DIY. If you're the hobbyist, do you, but get the Node up and running. So you've got the Node up and running. You've done the initial blockchain download, and then the Node is a wallet as well. Let's say you ping some Satoshis into the wallet. So you've got some sats sitting on that's to open a Lightning channel. So then what does the Pleb do?
So the Pleb would use a tool like ThunderHub, for example,
which is built into the Node. Yep.
Yeah, it's installed on almost every single LND node, but you'd be able to like view your balance, see the sats on there as an on-chain balance, and then you would open a channel, and in that flow, you're gonna find the connection for the other node that you're wanting to open a channel to. So where do you want to point these sats at? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So who might that be? Who's the person? Who is that person connecting to?
Yeah, this is a big question, because you got 17,000 options there, and that's not really an exaggeration. So you could open a channel to ZBD, for example, or you could find Preston Pish out there and actually open a channel in his direction, or you could find BTC Sessions and open a channel to him. So you're going to make a decision based on,
And we can use
what you like.
Amboss
Yeah.
to find these nodes, right?
Absolutely. So
Mhm.
yeah, you can, we've got a search bar, so you can put in any of these names and find some cool nodes to connect to.
Right. Okay. Or you could just call up your friend and say, listen, should we create a channel together? And then, but there's trade offs here, which we're going to talk about. So if I open up a node to one of the ones you just mentioned, or like River, for example, who obviously have a huge node running, that, the way I understand it, that's like a super mega fast toll road where I know whatever I send is going to get there and in bigger amounts too. Whereas if I open a pleb node to my friend Johnny down the street, and every time we make a, that's a slow road, that's kind of like the backcountry lanes.
Exactly. It would be like trying to take an electric scooter across the country, and it's kind of the wrong transportation method. I mean, at a certain point, you're going to want to scale up and take a flight. So this is, how I view these larger node hubs, like River Financial, for example.
Then let's
So
talk about inbound and outbound liquidity, because this is another thing that is a little bit kind of difficult to understand. So if I've opened it up to my friend Johnny down the road with, I don't know, 500,000 sats, let's say, then that would probably, that's my outbound to him.
yeah,
And that's his inbound, right? But I also, to open that, we have to make an on-chain transaction, which is
that's right.
currently very high because people are still fucking around in the mempool, with ordinals and stuff. So there's another thing to take into account when you're opening these channels, because there is going to be a transaction booked on the blockchain, as an analogy. So now we have a channel open. What does that mean for the person that has the outbound, and what does that mean for the person that has the inbound?
Yeah, we've introduced outbound and inbound liquidity, and it is confusing because on the outbound liquidity, it means you have the ability to send, and if you have inbound liquidity, which is the other side of that, same system for the other person, that means that they can receive that amount. And one of the analogies I've been trying to use is essentially a gift card. Now, if you want to actually spend money at a store, you can purchase a gift card, which is essentially prepaying the amount. And in this gift card system, you've got a ledger on the side that the company knows about, to see what is your balance there. Now, let's say, for example, the gift cards are refundable. So you can actually get your money back at the end if you don't spend all of it. Wouldn't that be nice? And so in order to make a gift card system work, the company actually has to sell the gift card to you. So they have to solicit people to actually opt into this system. And by doing that, they've enabled instant payments without having to rely on any type of credit. So that actually works out great for the business, because now they've eliminated basically the 2-week waiting period for final settlement to occur. You're improving the speed of settlement. You're improving the privacy for the users that don't have to expose all of their transactions to like a large banking financial institution. But there is this additional friction point where you're going to have to start selling gift cards in order to make this payment system work. And so the same thing happens for Lightning. You're going to have to solicit inbound liquidity. You're going to have to get people to open channels to you and allocate their Bitcoin in your direction. And For most people, that is very confusing because usually just with a credit card system, the payments just work. But if you want to make the difficult engineering decision to avoid that, like you're going to introduce liquidity problems, which is like your gift card doesn't have quite enough balance to make this happen.
Right. Okay. And then say we've got that channel open. I've got 500 million sats pointing in his direction. That means I can spend up to and no more than 500 million sats.
Exactly.
And then that channel is done. It's maxed out. So I cannot send any more Bitcoin out of my node along that pipe.
Correct.
So how many channels are people opening on like we were talking before. I have been down the rabbit hole. I remember this hobbyist group a couple of years ago. We were all together on Telegram. We were doing the Ring of Fire. You know, it was great fun. It was like, okay, now this is what we're gonna do. I'll send you 1 million sats. You send Dave 1 million. He sends Bob 1 million. He sends Joe 1 million. He sends Ricky 1 million. And then Ricky sends you 1 million back. And we've closed the loop. And we've got this wonderful, great big ring of fire and a nice big chunky pipe full of liquidity. And each one of us can now start making more payments via, you know, if you had a wallet that was connected to your node and you could be out using that, like Zeus do a good job of that, then you're completely self-sovereign. I don't know if those guys are still doing all that kind of stuff. I kind of fell out of it. I was like, you know, everybody's nodes were fucking up. Mine would go off in a thunderstorm and then it would all get screwed up. And it's just really difficult to manage.
Absolutely. I mean, I love those hobbyist tools, but like those are for hobbyists that really want to, you know, interact with the network in its like most raw form. But in order to make this work for everybody, it's got to be way simpler.
Yes.
Which was, you know, if your business wants to receive Lightning payments, this is the reason that we built Hydro, because what it does is you essentially pay Amboss to go out and solicit Lightning channels opened to your business. So you're going to just pay us money and we will provision liquidity for you from all different parts of the network.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like you just tell us how much you want, and pay for it. And we'll go out to the market and find the best price that we can and make it so that your business can receive payments reliably. And you're not going to have to think about managing channels anymore, but yet you have your own node. And you tell us how much business are you expecting this next month?
Yeah.
Are you going to receive a Bitcoin of payments? How much are you going to be sending out? If you're going to be sending out, you've just saved on the amount of liquidity that we need to go provision for you. So if you're part of a circular economy.
Okay, hang on, wait. You
Sorry.
lost me there. If you're sending out, what was it you said? If you're sending out, you've just saved.
You've saved yourself on the need to get more liquidity. So Hydro is a bootstrapping. Like I need to get you inbound liquidity so that you can receive payments.
So now, I might be paying my suppliers. I could be a business, right? And exactly. I expect Lightning payments coming my way. I own a bar, cafe, and the plebs are coming and doing their meetups and whatever else. So I'm receiving. I've got my node running, and I come to you. I come to Amboss and I say, Jesse, help me out. I'm going to get, I don't know, 5,000 pounds, euros, dollars worth of Bitcoin this month, just on pleb meetups alone, and maybe a little bit else, who knows. So can you find me inbound liquidity for anywhere between 5 to 10,000 of XYZ equivalent fiat currency? That's what you do. Yeah. But if I'm paying my suppliers as well, because I've orange pilled them, I need outbound channels. Yeah.
Actually, as long as you're receiving payments, and these payments start flowing in, you're accumulating outbound liquidity. So the payments can flow both directions once you actually have a somewhat balanced channel. You're buying inbound, and payments are starting to flow in. And now you can use that balance that you have basically in your cash register to go pay your suppliers. Now, like Hydro isn't free because you're asking someone else to make an on-chain Bitcoin transaction and connect to you and point their money in your direction.
So you charge a one-time fee for that, depending on the amount of liquidity the person is asking for?
It's really the node operator that is charging a whole bunch, because they're going to have to make basically a $10 transaction in order to create this new channel to you. So like that's where the cost is really realized. So you might pay, a 1% fee to actually get all this inbound liquidity. But as you start to receive payments over Lightning, now you can take those payments and pay out to your suppliers. And the fee that you'll pay is like 0.004%. So it is, and like whenever you make a payment out to a supplier, you're also gaining inbound liquidity. So really the cost comes when you have a single direction flow of payments. If you're only a payments destination for Lightning, you're going to be paying a lot for liquidity. But if you are both receiving and sending payments over the Lightning Network, your cost of commerce essentially goes to zero.
And what about those payments that get directed through my node for whatever reason? I remember there being a lot of excitement when we were doing these Rings of Fire, thinking, we're going to capture the fee market. We're going to be, we're building interest banks on top of like the Lightning Network.
Yeah. Now, it's not a guarantee that you're going to get money out of this. I think a lot of people
too, for those thinking about doing this.
People will go out of their way to like get a tiny amount of yield. And it's funny system because like if you were to like go out and build roads, you can't just build a road anywhere. You can't just randomly select a location to build a road and expect there to be, toll road traffic on there. You have to be very mindful. Am I between a source of cars and a destination of cars? Like, am I, paving a road to Disneyland, or am I, paving a road to Timbuktu? And like, so you have to be very thoughtful and very strategic about where you're going to be making your Bitcoin allocations on the Lightning Network. And like one of the core theses that we have for Amboss is the cost of decision making. The cost of Bitcoin transactions is going up. And the more that it goes up, the more thoughtful you're going to need to be. You're going to spend more on data analytics to find out what is the best possible allocation that I can make here, in order to extract that yield. And if a Bitcoin transaction costs $10, then you're going to maybe spend $5 on data analytics in order to make the like $7 essentially.
Yeah, and looking at
come out on top.
Looking at the blockchain right now, we're up at almost like 230,000 transactions are in the mempool, and the last couple of blocks, 184 sats per byte, 216, 198, 192. These are crazy prices, and like these blocks are still full of these tiny, like somebody's paying almost $6 to send 546 sats. So like they're spending 14,000 sats to move an amount of 546 sats. This is the level of nonsense we're at the moment with all of these ordinals and crap in the blockchain. But that also affects the that your business, right? Like, so now if you go out and you're shopping for inbound liquidity, some XYZ company comes to you and says, yo, hook me up. I've got my node up and running. Here's my node ID, whatever. Hook me into some liquidity. What do you advise then in such a fee environment? And what would you advise to like the local pleb who's just trying to mess around and open a few channels just to get used to what he's doing?
Yeah, because of this immense fee pressure, it may not be that the plebs are operating this network. It will be moving to businesses that have larger concerns. But one key element that never really gets priced right is risk within the system. So when I was processing mid-month payroll for Amboss, this funny thing happened in the news that Silicon Valley Bank went under. Now, I didn't have a bank account at Silicon Valley Bank, but I also got an email saying from our payroll provider that could you go ahead and send that mid-month payroll again? Because, well, while we were processing it, it was actually at Silicon Valley Bank. And so those funds are at risk. So, you know, for a Bitcoin startup, you're telling me that, you know, in my limited, you know, months of runway that I have to survive as a business, you're telling me that I just lost half of a month for this, you know, freak event that I had nothing to do with. Now, like, thankfully, in our case, we essentially had a bank bailout. You know, the BTFP program essentially made it so that I didn't have to repay half a month's of payroll. But in so doing, it's basically devaluing the money for everyone. It's socializing the losses. And like, so this is the cost of having a payment system that is rife with counterparty risk. And, you know, the cost, like, what's the alternative here is to actually have a counterparty risk-free payment system. And that may mean that I'm going to pay a little bit more for commerce than I would otherwise. But the economics still work out. If I'm like, I don't have to continuously keep buying Lightning channels if I can reuse them and bootstrap a circular economy, because my cost of commerce is basically a single database update with me and my channel partner. Like, that is basically zero. And I can route a payment anywhere across borders. It's settled instantly, and I don't have the risk. So I'm going to be paying extra to remove that risk in this interim, in this weird time. But the amount of risk in the system is growing in the traditional finance system. And I would like to avoid that if at all possible, because the Bitcoin rails are going to continue to operate and the rest of these fiat rails aren't going to, as, you know, wars ramp up or we've got sanctions, all of these things. And I sidestep all of that by switching to the parallel system that's being built right now.
Yeah, 100%. All right. So now let's talk to the discerning pleb out there that's been running a node for the last few years, has a mess on his hands of Lightning channels that he opened, forgot he opened, have been force closed, doesn't even know what force closed means, and rebalancing. What does let's address some of these, like some of this terminology. So, how does a force closure happen, and what does it mean?
Force close happens generally when you've got both people on either end of a Lightning channel. I like to think of it as like a joint account. So like, I've got a certain amount of money in here, you've got a certain amount of money, but at some point we may not agree on who owns what in this joint account. Now that means either I've lost communication with you, or you're lying to me and I don't want to participate in this joint account anymore. And forced closures generally happen automatically because of this disagreement that happens, which causes me to run to the Bitcoin blockchain and use the Bitcoin blockchain as the court, the final determinant of like who owns what in this Lightning channel. And I'm racing to the Bitcoin blockchain because I want my record published and not yours. So this is why it becomes very expensive to do a forced close, because now I'm paying the next block fee and I don't trust you anymore. Now, you also have an opportunity here because I'm not going to be able to get my funds out of this time-locked contract for essentially 2 weeks. Now, during that period, if you were offline or you saw that the record of the joint account that I published wasn't the most recent, you actually may have a more recent state of things. And if you publish that, it's provable to the Bitcoin network that I lied and I did not publish the most recent state. And that entitles you to claim all of the funds that were ever in the joint account. So this is an incredible penalty mechanism. It's a rare event for this to happen, but it does happen. But this is kind of the protection mechanism for funds in Lightning channels. And it uses quite a bit of game theory, but it ends up working quite well, but is a pretty unfortunate event when forced closes do happen, and they are expensive just because of this race functionality, which would change in a potential Bitcoin soft fork change called L2 or Lightning Symmetry.
Okay. Rebalancing channels. What does that even mean?
Rebalancing channels means you're making a Lightning payment to yourself, but you're doing it through a couple of Lightning channels that you have. So this is also called circular rebalancing because I'm the origin of a payment and I'm going to select a Lightning channel that maybe I want to increase my inbound liquidity on. So I'll pay out through that and increase my inbound liquidity in that channel. And then I'll also receive a payment in another channel where I want to increase my outbound capacity or reduce the amount of inbound that I have on there.
Yeah, it's not getting any simpler. Okay.
It's a self-payment essentially, but it might help with Lightning operations. My general advice, avoid circular rebalancing. Like don't do it. There's a very small window where that actually makes sense for any routing node operator.
Okay, so now I guess the final step is like you've got the node running, you've got some channels open, you have Zeus, you've downloaded Zeus on your phone. Now you're out, and what you like the dream here is, and how it works is, now you want to pay for that beer, you use your Zeus app, that's going to connect to your node to move the coin, the payment across the Lightning network to the person that you're buying the beer from. Fully self-sovereign. Goodness knows how all of it works. It's just amazing. It's even amazing when you actually do it and see it for yourself. So what's happening at the node is you've got a stack of Bitcoin there, but if you've maxed out those channels that you've already been using, you're going to get a payment failed, right?
Yeah. And
even though you've got the Bitcoin there, the Bitcoin balance is there, that's fine. Right. But you've already maxed out my 500 million sats with Johnny and 500 million sats with Bob and Dave. They're all maxed out. I've already used them. So I'm back to square one. I can't use my Zeus. I can't access the Bitcoin I have on my node. So I really need to start looking at bigger solutions like you were talking about with River or someone like that.
Yeah. Certainly you can delegate the responsibility for maintaining your payment network to someone else. but Zeus and connecting to your own node is an incredible solution right now, to actually have the fully self-sovereign setup. And I would love to see it. The other day, I just actually purchased a couple of steaks from the local rancher here in Nashville that comes to the farmer's market, and he accepts Bitcoin over the Lightning Network. And originally he was using Wallet of Satoshi, and now it has to find a different solution. But he was actually moving those sats, to his cold storage wallet. So like that's the way to do it. Like just kind of in person. You're using a custodial solution that has all these managed channels, and for the consumer and the small time merchant, it makes total sense. Kind of like,
so can I just stop you there
scale up,
because
yeah.
like there's another question there for that needs addressing. So if the guy is accepting Lightning payments for his steaks at the farmer's market, how is he then taking cold storage if he's only holding Lightning in a Lightning wallet? Bitcoin in a Lightning wallet? See, it's so easily done. How does he get that onto the main chain to his Bitbox when he gets home?
Yeah, so Wallet of Satoshi had this nice function where it would allow you to pay a Bitcoin address.
Right. Okay. So
So,
not all
and it
wallets
would
have that
just
function, right?
correct.
We're so early.
at-
We are so early.
we're so early, and this is extremely abstract, and it's okay that people don't understand all of this. The amount of people that will deeply understand liquidity, channels, rebalancing, all of these things are so few. They are going to be the most precious people like in our society. Like now I'm at the point where I'm like debating whether it makes sense to have a Lightning Network meetup, because having these people that understand how to operate in this system are extremely rare. And maybe we shouldn't make a honeypot of them, because like as the system grows, like this will get more and more automated, and like there won't be these people that have intuitive understanding of how this operates.
And another thing people need to
yeah.
what would you recommend? Well, again, and this comes down to the size of the channels that you're interacting with. But Lightning Network 2 or 3 years ago, everyone was messing around with like $5-10. I use it now to pay a couple of hundred, $250, $300. Like this is it's got bigger and bigger and bigger over time. And that's by no means a flex. I know people have been doing, that for a much longer time as the network has been growing. What you like? When are we doing tens of thousands? And does that make sense, or would that be a main chain thing to deal with? Where do you see the progression over the next 18 months? Because it's going to go wild, as you know, as I know, over the next 18 months. Loads more people coming on, loads more interest in accepting Bitcoin. Yeah, what's coming?
Yeah. One of the metrics we've been tracking is the network capacity. So this is the total size of all of the public Lightning channels out there. And, over the past year, it's gone up, it's gone down. But a year ago, it was about the same amount of network capacity as it was a year ago. And during that time, okay, you could say, Lightning failed project. All of the critics of Lightning would love to be able to jump on that narrative. However, at the same time, what is the value of Bitcoin done in that time? It's gone up by nearly 150% as of today, which means that the settlement capacity of the Lightning Network has increased by 2.5 times. So what was, $100 payment a year ago, like now you can do a $250 payment using the exact same infrastructure if nothing else changed. Now, I expect the Bitcoin price, to increase over the next year. We've got the halving coming up. We've got ETFs, and that all means that the power of this Lightning Network system as a payment network is going to go up by multiples. And I can't wait for it to happen because it doesn't need to change. It can actually remain the same. What will be a driver is how does the complexity of the Lightning Network ecosystem and the Bitcoin ecosystem change? Like that will be a driver for more Lightning Network capacity. So more people will be deploying Bitcoin there.
How long is it before someone's standing in front of a secondhand car dealer or somebody that they're a private deal and buying a car for $10,000 to $15,000 on the Lightning Network?
The timelines are never certain for this. I gotta say that, but I can tell you right now, like that the days of, of going to a bank branch in order to make a transfer, those days are done. The kids born today, they're not going to have a bank account. They're going to have a banking app. And you're going to have to explain to them what 3 business days means, or 9 to 5.
Yeah.
The
what were you
the money
guys
system will just
thinking?
work.
Like, what? How?
This system will work, and it will work in an internet native capacity, and we'll be able to do larger amounts of commerce.
Right. We've been talking a lot about nodes here, and I hope. What's your rally cry to the plebs regarding running their own node and getting comfortable running some Lightning channels from that node?
Yeah, get started with it, because there will be all sorts of folks that want to slow down this system as it becomes more and more performant. So there we've got geopolitical things that will cause cross-border payments to become more difficult. And I don't think as a pleb, as a Bitcoiner, you want to be subject to that. You want to build the alternative right now while it's actually relatively cheap. A $10 Bitcoin transaction to us sounds absolutely crazy. But if you don't start thinking about how you're setting up your instant payment system, like you will be beholden to those Bitcoin transactions that cost $10, versus you could move the entire economy to a credit-free system. You could do that today and be able to enjoy the fruits of your labor for many years to come, because these Lightning channels can last years.
All right, man. That's what the plebs need to be doing. We need to, and I know, of course, there is another narrative here for distributing the network, keeping the network as distributed as humanly possible. And you mentioned around 17,000 reachable public nodes at the moment. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're at 16,700 some.
All right, we got work to do. I mean, that's great. It could be much better. I know there's way more than 17,000 Bitcoiners out there.
Yeah. By entering into this system, you're going to create your own social network, which is also financial rails. This is a powerful thing, and just to be a connector provides tremendous value. So if I'm helping reach my local economy and local producers, and using my own Bitcoin savings to provide those rails, that's an important service to connect them with the rest of the global economy.
I didn't ask. We've done this back to front, but what were you doing in fiat land before you started Amboss?
Let's see. So, my background is environmental engineering, kind of managing flows, a lot of like hydroelectric dam type like math problems, which actually feels very related to like what we're doing with nodes, and it's like reservoirs and dams and such. But like I ended up working in transportation, and so I was collecting data on road networks to understand where to allocate resources, and like which roads to repair and which ones to prioritize. And that started with network level data collection on the quality of the road surface. So these were like very related analogies, for
Yeah.
me. But before I even was able to get an engineering job, I was working in class action lawsuits, talking to people every day that were victims of their bank policies, where the bank would reorganize debit card transactions in highest to lowest dollar order in order to maximize the overdraft fees that they could charge.
Oh, those
So
are
basically, causing your bank balance to zero out and then have more $30 charges that they could layer on, simply by reorganizing what order your transactions happen.
my God.
So
What banks were doing that? Shame them.
that was what was going on in my head, because I was thinking, why don't people change banks? And then I found out that all of them were doing that. It wasn't illegal. But like, what is the escape? What does the escape look like? And I was on the lookout for it, until I found out about Bitcoin. I bought a little bit, got excited about the price, then it started going down. What in the world did I buy? And that's when I learned about the technology. Just while I was trying to find out, do I sell this thing that is going down in price? And the more and more I learned about it, the more the answer was no. Like, do not sell this. This is the most important invention of our generation. And I need to be building on this.
Did a friend tell you about it? Like you read about it? You like what? Like how did Bitcoin suddenly like tap you on the shoulder?
I think I heard about it from my brother. I think that was probably the first touch. But then it's like, oh, I could go and get internet money by watching a couple of ads, and then I can go and spend this new internet money on these whatever gambling sites. So I roll a couple of dice. Of course, all the Bitcoin I accumulated from these faucets where you watch ads, was like immediately gambled away, until I was just absolutely annoyed by all of the Bitcoin memes, all these celebratory gifts about the Bitcoin price going up back in 2017. And that's when I was like, okay, either I'm muting all of these super annoying Bitcoiners, or I'm going to buy some and join the party. And I elected to buy some, and that's when I got hooked.
So Bitcoin Twitter in 2017 was a special place. It was full of, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Great fun, great times. And I tell you, like that really did cut some Bitcoiners in those days with those memes. They're very, very powerful. Bitstein, a lot of his stuff, yeah, just amazing. And he's still at it. It's just great. All right,
Yeah.
so Jesse, here you are, a road engineer surrounded by libertarians. They must be screaming at you. Who's going to build the roads?
Of course, and I came from the political left because I was so angry about like banking policies, but then Bitcoin has absolutely rocked me, and now I'm rethinking about this, and it is us that creates this infrastructure. It is individuals that are scratching their own itch and building products to solve problems. Bitcoin has a lot of problems, and like no one else is going to build this. No one else has the incentives that we do to actually make this system work. And so like follow that call and start building out your infrastructure, start building on the product, because this ecosystem isn't going to build itself. It's individuals that do it.
How many of you at Amboss?
We are up to 9 full-time employees.
Wow.
Full-time staff rather. But yeah, we're globally distributed. I got connected with my co-founder Tony, who built ThunderHub, and I was just a pleb user of ThunderHub, giving him some feedback, and we ended up teaming up to form a company and kind of grow the Lightning Network. And we've we've found a good fit with Amboss, to just provide information, a coordination system for this network to get built. Like the incentives are there, but people just need a little bit of help. I had heard like early on, like some of the protocols, just a protocol being built is really just a conversation. And we were making Lightning channels happen via Telegram chats, just talking to each other. But now to create this into a protocol, to turn this into a product, we're just optimizing the conversation. So really you can have peer-to-peer commerce get started, using essentially an evolved conversation.
I remember in the early days, again, going back to the hobbyists, there was a lot of excitement about like gamifying Amboss to try and get to the top of the leaderboard, and plebs were opening as many channels as they could and like checking the leaderboard and whatever else. Was that always part of like your game plan, or it just happened that way?
I remember like early on there was like the Boz score, and actually even before that, on ThunderHub, I was talking to Tony about different things that you could build on it, and he was soliciting donations, like help fund the development of ThunderHub, because he's volunteering his time to create this open source MIT licensed node manager software. But I remember suggesting to him, like, why not create a donation leaderboard, and it would show your like whoever contributed the most to ThunderHub, and like that would be the top list. And if people saw that top list, well, you could basically suggest to people, where should they open channels? Well, open it to the people that donated to ThunderHub, which caused them to get a whole bunch of inbound liquidity, which is a scarce commodity in Lightning. You want to be able to receive payments, and that inbound liquidity has a market value. So you can basically sell that off and get more money out of it. So it created somewhat a virtuous cycle by doing a little bit of like gaming things on people want to compete with each other. That part is already part of the network. It's part of human nature. They do want to compete and they want to be the best. So I can show you a list of the best nodes out there, and hopefully drive actually better performance. If you create that leaderboard right, people might be optimizing for the right things.
Yeah, for sure. And are you on the lookout for any funding as you grow, or are you just happy to keep bootstrapping?
Like we will be, as like a data company and a data analytics company, the road to monetization of this is a bit longer, which makes it a good fit for venture capital. And like we're hardcore builders, and we've made a history of relentless execution. Like Amboss is not even 3 years old, but yet at the same time, of the nodes that we've seen, over 50% have already logged in and claimed their node, and that's the global Lightning Network. So like clearly we've got traction, but we've got so much more to build in order to like grow the Lightning Network, as well as create all the data analytics that the future will require, for people to make good decisions with their funds on the Lightning Network.
All right, man. Well, for all those VCs listening, tuning in, reach out to Jesse. He's all ears. Let's go. Let's make this happen. All right. So to round this out, if you had one last orange pill left to give to somebody, who would you give it to and why?
I'd give it to my family. There's something like there's strength in weak ties, and sometimes it's the people that you care the most about that will somewhat be the most resistant to some of the messages that you would want to share with them, and they're going to be the most hard to convince. And like as I've gone through the Bitcoin rabbit hole, like I've had like challenges with friends because I've changed so much by taking this orange pill. And like I would want to gift people the knowledge of understanding Bitcoin, to protect them, to help their future, without delivering the message myself.
Awesome. Well, thank you for everything that you're doing for Bitcoin. Thank you for building Amboss and helping us all understand what Lightning is, and hopefully people listening have a much better understanding now why it's important, why it's really important to go out and not only just use the Lightning Network and spend your Bitcoin and start this circular economy, really kick it off, but to also get your own node up and running. We got to face these fears, and it's not comfortable. Nothing ever is in Bitcoin, but that's all part of the journey. You don't ever excel from sitting within your comfort zone. You got to get out there. Otherwise, you won't grow. So yeah, thanks for coming on, man. It's been great to get to know you. Where can people find out more? Where should they head to if they want more information, or if they can help in any way? What's the best way to reach out?
Yeah, you can find us on Twitter at Amboss Tech. You could follow me at Justifer_BTC. You can follow Tony at Tony IOI on Twitter. And of course, we're on Nostr. But that said, thank you so much, Daniel, for the opportunity to kind of share these messages, and follow along on kind of the progress of Amboss. So if you want to check out what we've been building, check out the website at amboss.space.
Excellent. Thanks, mate. Thanks for coming on, and talk again soon.
Thank you, Daniel.